Question number 11, Peeni Henare.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker.
Tēnā koe.
To the Minister for Social Housing, how much financial assistance, if any, has the Ministry of Social Development given to Te Puea Marae to house the homeless?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, today the Ministry of Social Development opened for proposals the $41 million Emergency Housing Initiative that includes funding for community organisations to provide immediate housing. Officials have been in discussion with the Marai on accessing funding, but no contract has yet been signed. MSD has also been dealing with each of the individuals using the Marai in high housing need to find longer-term solutions for the families.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Peeni Henare.
How will her $41.1 million fix the problem when most of it only covers existing places, yet Te Puea Marae had to open its doors because there is a huge increase in demand not covered by existing providers?
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the $41 million that the Minister of Social Housing has secured in this year's budget is the most generous support that government has ever provided for emergency housing. There certainly will be portions of that that are for new emergency housing, as well as supporting the sustainability of community organisations that provide existing emergency housing.
Supplementary question, Marama Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that Te Puea Marae is responding to the housing crisis by putting a roof over the heads of homeless New Zealanders, why hasn't the Minister been out to Te Puea Marae to see what is happening there?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the government provides social housing support for over 150,000 New Zealanders. We commend the Marai on its initiative. MSD staff have been to the Marai in the last week. Contracts have only been available from today. The Minister has brought forward the timetable for those contracts that were not due to come into effect till September, taking into account the need.
Supplementary question, Peeni Henare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can she confirm the only financial help the government has given Te Puea Marae to help house the homeless is $10,000 through Te Puni Kōkiri, and will she commit to an ongoing weekly contribution to assist Te Puea fill the gaps in this government's failed emergency housing policy?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the way this government goes around funding community organisations is to respond to need, but to do so in a professional way. The specific need of this Marai only arrived last week. There are discussions. Well, the Marai started their program just last week, and the Ministry is in discussion with them about a funding contract.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Peeni Henare.
In light of that answer, how has she let homelessness get so bad that a 15-day-old premature baby has been forced to live at an Auckland marae because Housing New Zealand would not house her family in Whakatane?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the specific circumstances of that case was that the person did not provide the information of them having an infant child because they were concerned that the child may be removed from them if they declared it. Now, that is unfortunate. I think the circumstances are understandable, and the lesson from that is for MSD to be able to reassure families that providing their full information will ensure that we can meet their housing need.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Peeni Henare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When the public is moved to action by the reality of so many New Zealand families living in cars and garages, why won't she commit to matching that demand with actual beds?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the number of people in high housing need that's been monitored by Housing New Zealand is not significantly different from across the country as the numbers that existed when we came to government in 2008. It may be news to members opposite, but every single year in my 26 years as a parliamentarian, I've dealt with constituency cases of people in high need. It is true that the need in Auckland is greater. in exactly the same way as we have successfully resolved those issues in Christchurch, we will resolve them in Auckland.
Question number 12.